Okay, once again, thanks everyone for joining for this section today. We is the fourth day of this training section. Um, if you are joining for the first time, first, my name is Ahmed Abdulaziz. I'm MVP Bizaps, and we have a trainer today. His name is Etim. He has been performing this training since day one. And this is the fourth section. And if you're joining for the first time, we can provide you access to the other trainings, the other sections by recording as well. I'll provide that into the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask as well. Also, the next class, the next section, which is going to be next week, Saturday, I think we're going to have, Etim is going to talk about that actually. So we're going to have another trainer and for the rest of the sections as well. But Etim is going to talk about that. Thanks, Etim, for joining and for taking it up. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. So thank you so much, everyone, for making our time to join this session. My name, again, is Etim Bassi. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. Again, on business applications. So, yeah, we've been covering this training. I think this is the fourth session or the fourth episode. So, it's going to be a series of trainings, like Ahmed rightly pointed out. So, next week, we'll be having another trainer coming to try to cover up some topics as well. For today, our scope will be centered on how to create a chart of accounts. What is a chart of accounts? And how do you set one up? How do you set up the main accounts in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations? And then if we have more time, we will delve into how to set up financial dimensions, what are financial dimensions, what are financial dimension sets, and then again, what are account structures? Okay. So before we start, just a recap of what we had done in the previous episode. So we started by reviewing what finance and operation is all about. What is the application of finance and operation? What are the core capabilities of finance and operation, and what are the benefits that the business stands to gain deploying and managing this application in the organization? Okay. And then we moved into the next topic, which had to do with how to provision the environment, and we saw how to provision the different kinds of environments we have, how to provision a tier one environment, tier two, and then even up to the production environment. And then last week we worked on or we spoke about setting up legal entities, what are the key requirements when you're setting up a legal entity, and as well as how to generate number sequence, and what is the benefit of using the number sequence wizard, as against creating number sequences manually. So we covered all of that last week. And then, so now we are done with provisioning a new legal entity. We have a number sequence set up. The next important thing, or the next thing on the hierarchy, will be to set up our chart of accounts, right? And then we move into the main accounts, and then extend that into financial dimensions, and you know how to set up dimension sets for reports and the account structure. All right. So in a nutshell, the chart of accounts is just a structured list, of the organization's general ledger account. So nothing serious, just a container that has, that keeps your general ledger account or your main accounts. You know, that's in a nutshell is what the chart of account is. Just a structured, it's centrally managed because, of course, when you create one chart of account, you can share it across multiple legal entities. So it's centrally managed, and of course, it contains a list of main accounts that you can use to record your general ledger transactions. And this is very essential, for your reporting and legal compliance. We're going to see all of that in the demonstration. All right. Okay. So structurally, this is what we have as our focus for today. You know, um, Creating chart of accounts and course, defining the financial frameworks, like we said. In the chart of accounts, you have the main accounts, and those main accounts are broken down into different groups. So you have assets, liabilities, equity, revenue, expenditures, and all of that. And then, of course, moving to the core general ledger accounts. We'll review the main accounts form and see what options we have in there, and if we still have time, we switch into the account structures, review the rules for the combinations, rules that guide postings into those main accounts. All of those rules are configured in the account structure. Okay. All right. So just for a quick start, to gain some insight into what we're talking about. So in a complete or in a chart of account, you have 5 different groups of accounts. You have the assets, you have the liabilities, you have the equity, of course, you have the expenditure, and then the income, right? Those are the 5 different kinds of groups of accounts that you have. So what I'm trying to say here is that, if you have asset accounts that are of type assets, the only way you increase the amount or the balance in those accounts is by posting a debit entry. Okay. So these are just general rules of accounting. So if you have a pre-knowledge of accounting, you see that these are just general rules of accounting. Just trying to point this out there, that it applies, the same thing applies in finance and operations, right? The same basic accounting principles apply, right? So if you have an asset account, you can only increase the value of that account by posting debit entries into it. And then, of course, a liability account would take credits as a means of increasing the balance on those accounts. Of course, the equity, of course, as well, will also take a credit when you want to increase it, and then when you want to decrease the value, you post in a debit. All right. So just trying to point this out there. It's nothing serious, but just to again re-emphasize the fact that the same basic accounting principle, the same double entry principle that we all know in accounting still applies in the application. Oops, this is supposed to be expenditure. Okay, expenditure and revenue. So for revenue, again, to increase the balance in a revenue account, you need to post a credit entry. And then to increase the balance in an expense account, you post a debit entry. All right, these are simple double entry principles that we are all aware of. All right, so I'll switch into the demo proper so that we, get right into it. All right, so here I have my legal entity. So in the last class, we created a legal entity called this guy, CCIT. Okay, just give me a minute. I think I want to use this guy. Okay, I was sharing the wrong screen. Yeah, so in the last class, we started by creating a legal entity. So in my legal entity, what I had here was an entity called CCIT. And then I went ahead to generate the number sequence for that legal entity, which we can also confirm by taking a look at the number sequence on the account receivable parameter for a start. All right. Gosh, come on. Okay. So looking at this, you can see that the number sequences are all populated. So meaning that this is where we ended the last topic or the last session. So for today, we are going right into creating a chart of accounts. So how you navigate into creating a chart of accounts is that you click on this hamburger icon, and then on the modules, you go into your general ledger, and then you click on the chart of accounts. On the accounts, you have chart of accounts. So you click on this. All right, so here I have some default charts. So like I earlier mentioned, this form is shared, meaning that one chart of accounts can be applied to multiple legal entities, or it can be used by multiple legal entities. So absolutely, these other ones you see here might have been assigned in other legal entities. But we are going to go ahead and create a new one by clicking on the new. All right, and then we give it a name, CCIT-COA. All right, so I'll say this is my chart of account. All right, so this is in a nutshell what you have when you're creating a chart of account. And in here, you have what we call the main account mask. Main account mask simply means the range of the account numbering you want to apply. You want to apply for this chart of account. So meaning that if I say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, what I'm saying to the system is that my chart of account will have the numbers on the chart of account, number sequence that will be applicable on this chart of account will be 4 digits, right? Number, meaning that it will not allow me to use 5 number, and I cannot also increase the number. So the number sequence will have to be of, 4-character range. That's what I'm saying. So for now, this is simple in a nutshell what you mean by a chart of account. So you click on save, and that's it. All right, so what we've done here basically is just to say, hey, this is the container that I want to house my main accounts, right? So the name is CCIT-COA, and this is the description, and then I'm saying the numbers on that chart will be 4-character digits, of course. So in here, the next thing we want to do after creating your chart of account is to begin to set up the main accounts. And I can do that from here, or again, I can navigate through my hamburger icon, come into general ledger, chart of accounts, and I click on the main accounts. All right. Oops, it's not defined. Okay, so this is a necessary message, warning message. This simply tells you that for this new entity, some setups are missing. All right. So I don't want to go into that in this class because that will be something for another class. But simply what that will mean is just that I need to navigate in here on the ledger, and then I will say this is the chart of accounts I want to use for this legal entity. So that's what it's just asking. Nothing serious. So this is for a Nigerian entity. So we'll cover this in the next session, all right? But I'm just trying to get rid of that error so that we can proceed. So again, I navigate into my hamburger icon, modules, general ledger, chart of accounts, and then under the accounts, I click on the main accounts, right? So this will allow me now begin to do the setup for my accounts. All right, so here I can see that I am in the newly created chart of accounts, and then I begin to set up my main account. So all I will do is to click on the new icon, all right, and then I say, what will be the account code? So in here, I have prepared a list of accounts, sample accounts that I want to set up. All right, so let me say, for example, this guy will be this, and then the name is just assets, right? So here, I'll just classify this as an asset. All right, so in a nutshell, this is what might be required for you to set up a basic account save. But I want to take some time to explain again these fields that we see here. So here you have the main account category. All right, you can also use it to specify what kind of assets this is. All right, so this is important for reporting. There are some embedded reports in the system that will require, this classification. But yeah, I will not select this on this main account type. And then here you can see by default, it's telling you, so like I shared in the PowerPoint presentation, I told you to increase an asset, you need to post in a debit. So you see that immediately I selected the account type as an asset, the system prompts me to say this will be a debit account. All right, this will be a debit account. And then here, you can use this field to control what is required or what the system will be expecting in terms of transaction. So if I over it, I see a help menu telling me that, okay, I should select whether the account will be used only for debit transactions or credit transactions. So if I select a particular transaction type, meaning debit or credit, it means that the system will always check at the point of posting your journal if that transaction type is a debit or credit, and then flag a message to tell you, look, this account only allows, this transaction type, debit or credit as specified here. All right. Again, the balance control is another thing. Sometimes you want to ensure that in the balance of this account, at all times, you want the system to, not allow the balance to go out of control or out of range. So if I said my asset balance should always be a debit, yeah, what I'm saying is that at any time someone wants to post a transaction, the system will check and see, okay, I currently have maybe 20,000 as a debit, and this person is trying to post 30,000 credit into this account. That means that the balance will go into a credit. So this will be used to regulate, such entries at the point of posting and tell you that, look, you cannot have a debit or a credit balance in this account if it's nominated. But if we leave this blank, which is most times generally the case, of course, the balance can go either ways, either a credit or a debit. Now, on this administration part, this is a very key and important requirement, right? So there's something called subsidiary to the ledger control. So for example, if I'm creating this account and I want this account to be populated only by maybe fixed asset transactions, right? Would be, so this is an asset account. I want to say, okay, the only transactions that should be allowed to be posted into this model should come from, the subsidiary ledger from fixed assets. So what I'm saying is that I do not want individuals to post general ledger journals, direct journals into this account. I can just enable this feature, and then I'll see do not allow manual entry. So if someone wants to pick up this account and post a transaction into it, it will get a flag. So sorry, this account is not allowed for manual entry, right? So these are key controls that are available in the form to enable you manage how people use the accounts. So again, you see something here called active from and active to. So it means that, normally what we used to do back in the day is that if you want to you can create a new account and say, this account, I want it to be effective from May 1st, 2026, right? All I need to do is I can set up the account today, and then I set up a date here for May 1st, 2026. So what I'm saying is that even though this account is created, nobody will be able to use this account to not be in use up until the start date, right? Same thing with the end date. So if I say this account, is closed as at today, meaning that from tomorrow, nobody will be able to post to that account. Of course, I'm telling the users that look at this date, the system will stop using this account. All right. And then of course there's a suspended here, meaning that if you want to stop the account from, being processed, you can enable that, and that account automatically will not be active for transactions. Okay. Yeah, so the next important thing is this consolidation. If you remember quite well when we talked about legal entities, setting up legal entities, we came across a form or a field in the legal entity form where we said use for consolidations. And I tried to explain to you that if that field is enabled in legal entity setup, it means that company will not be able to be used for transactions. You won't be able to use that company for transactions. The company will only be available for consolidations. Okay, so now you have a consolidation company, assuming, and then you want to map these ledger accounts to that consolidation company. So of course, in the consolidation company, you also have a chart of accounts. So I will now say, okay, this account 100 in my consolidation company should report to account 3000 in that consolidation company. So that's how the system will roll up transactions from each of these transaction companies into that legal entity so that you can get your group report from that legal entity. All right, so again, you see the default currency is active here. In the ledger that I just set up, I said that my accounting currency is Naira NGN, and I also said that my reporting currency is in USD. So assuming I want to use a specific currency for this, for processing transaction in this account, I need to specify if I want to say, okay, use USD as the currency for processing transactions. I can enable that there. All right. So the next field here I have is the legal entity override. What this simply means that, again, we said that the form is multi legal entity or is shared across all legal entities in the system. So meaning that in my ledger, I can map this chart of account to multiple legal entities. And then here I can control how I want the account to be used in different legal entities. So for example, if I come in here and I set for sorry, I just need to clear this. No. Trying to filter for other entities, just a minute. I don't know, enabled. Okay, so for some reason this is not enabled. Maybe it just needs some time to process. But what I'm saying is, on the legal entity override, when you click on the add button, you should be able to get a list of other legal entities from here. And then you can select maybe USMF, and then you can begin to make the settings for that legal entity. Either you want to suspend this account from being used in that legal entity, or you want to set an active from or active to in that legal entity, or you probably you don't want this account to be used in a particular legal entity, you can suspend it from here. And then here, again, the same menu. If you don't want it to be posted directly into in that specified legal entity, you can also select that from here. So that's fine. So I'll leave that here. And then I go ahead and create the next account. Let me say this one. Again, I say this is an asset account. And then this will be my what did I say? This will be current assets. Current assets, okay. Current assets. Okay. Current assets. So I'm just looking for current assets. Okay, this one. So again, I just create this. Now I have a list of accounts, probably 72 accounts, and I don't want to do this manually. So I can quickly leverage the Excel add-in, all right, to get this done. And how I do that is simple. All I need to do on every form or most of the forms you have in Dynamics, you will always see this Excel integration, all right? And I also said in our opening episode that, one of the benefits of Dynamics is the strong and tightly coupled integration capability to other Microsoft tools. And in this case, we're trying to leverage Excel, to create more accounts. So I click on this. Save my environment. Okay. So in here, I see opening Excel and I see export to Excel. Now the difference between the two is simple. If you want to just download your reports to your data to Excel and just review, you use the export. But if you want to be able to update transactions real time in Excel, of course, the open in Excel is the guide to go to, right? So I click on download. Okay, so I have my Excel here, open. So here I need to sign in with the same account that I used in logging on to Dynamics. A minute, let me grab the accounts. No. Okay, so I need to sign in. Okay, so here I have gotten back my data, and now I need to populate the remaining accounts here. So all I need to do is let me say from the beginning again, copy, paste, copy this guy, paste values. Okay, so here I want to say these are the types I want to use. Oh, yeah. And then I say this is my account category. Okay. And number 3. All right. So for a start, this is what I want to do. Okay. And then I said, this is the chart of account I want to update. Okay. So when this is done, all I need to do is just click on publish. Okay. So I got some errors. 72. 71. So these are the ones with the errors. Hey, before we get into reviewing errors, let's even see what has been updated in Dynamics. Okay. So of course I got some accounts that were updated. So for the ones with the error, could be maybe account type or something is not updated. So main account category is not available, is different from what is on Dynamics. That's what it's telling me. So this main account category called expense and all that is not available on row 60. This one is not there. So, hey, I can see that, okay, this is the reason for the errors. And then the ones that are successful, of course, I got a message that some records are successful. Okay, so just to take notes or to have that in mind, each time you're importing anything from an external system in this case Excel into Dynamics, there are some validation checks that the system will always do. So this is one of those validation checks like you've seen. Here the system is checking and saying that the main account type I specified in my document does not exist in the system. So meaning that the main account type should be existing before I attempt to do any import. That's what it's telling me. So it's for data integrity, the system will always carry out this check so that you don't just upload junks into the system, right? So, but yeah, so I think this is it for main account. So we've been able to create a chart of accounts. We've been able to update some accounts or, manually create an account using the Excel add-in. We are able to also upload into our chart of accounts or main accounts. Okay. So at this point, if you have any question, let's take some questions before we proceed. No question? Okay, so I go back into the demo. So we've looked at what a chart of account is, what an accounts are, and how we can set them up. The next thing we want to look at is the financial dimension. So financial dimension basically is just, okay, I'll give you an example. Back on my main account, I have an expense account called rents. Okay. No, this is not expense. Let me see, what expenses do I have? So I always like to use the profit and loss account, so it's easy to see. Okay, so I have one called salaries, right? So in my salaries, there's a requirement. No, this is not my chart of accounts. Yeah, this is my chart of accounts, sorry. Oops, I missed the expenses, okay? Not to worry. So I have a account type called cost of goods sold, and then there's a requirement by the business to tell me, okay, this cost of goods sold, I want to see it broken down by the different locations where the transactions happened. All right, so I want to be able to break this account down by the locations and even by the customers that purchase those items. So this is a general requirement. So your chart of accounts actually has to be very clean and lean as much as possible. You don't want to have a very bogus chart of account where it's very difficult to review transactions, right? So you have just one account type, number 5,000, and then the account name is called cost of goods sold, right? So there's a requirement to say, hey, I want to see this cost of goods sold broken down by the different location where the transaction happened, or by the different customers, or even the revenue accounts. The user says to you, okay, I want to see the different kinds of items that were bought. So this revenue, I want to break the figures down by the different items or the different locations where the postings happened, right? So I will not have to, assuming the business is having 5 different product types, I'm not going to start creating main accounts 4001, 4002, 4003, 04, and 05 for the different product types. I have just one account called revenue. And then how I intend to break it down is to deploy what we call financial dimension. So financial dimension is just a tool that helps you break down an account, right? It helps you, further analyze, helps you analyze details of an account, right? So in this case, I'm looking at a revenue account, and then I want to see which customers actually bought these items. So I have a figure, say 50,000 in my revenue. I want to see which customers actually bought these items, or I want to see which locations these items were bought from. All right. So what I need to deploy in this case is the financial dimension to help me break down that this costing or this amount in the revenue into the various using those various criteria. So again, I hover into my hamburger icon here on the models, again into the general ledger model, and then on my dimensions, I see what is called a financial dimension. Okay, financial dimension. So yeah, again, this is shared, and as you can see, there are already some defaults in the system. I think there are about 45 standard dimensions that are deployed by Microsoft as default, meaning that, of course, you do not need to create this manually again. Things like your bank accounts are, defaulted as dimensions, your business unit, cost centers, all of those things are defaulted as dimensions. Your department, again, is a dimension. Even your customer is a dimension in this case. But of course, we don't have any value. So, because this is a new system, so these values are coming from the existing system, sorry. So now, there are two ways you can set up a dimension. Like we have seen, this is a standard out-of-the-box dimension, and how you create that. So for example, I want to create a location. I can either come to my organization admin, and here I find what is called the operating units. In the operating units, I can set up the standard dimensions, right? I can set up the standard dimensions using the operating units. So all I need to do is come in here and click on new. I have different options here. So if I want to create a new department, I want to create a new cost center, I can just select the appropriate ones and just click on OK. And then I get something like this, right? Give it a name, and then it's telling me it's coming from the cost center. So, and then, I can now use this in my transaction. This is one of the ways you can set up new values in your standard dimension. But I don't want to do that. I want to create a custom dimension so that we understand how it's done. So in my financial dimension menu, I click on new. And then you can see it tells me use values from. If I click on the lookup here, I have a list of values. This is about 45 or thereabouts, different default dimensions. But I don't want to use any of these ones. I don't want to use the bank rules, bank accounts. I don't want any of this. I want to create my own. So I choose the standard custom dimension, and then I want to give it a name. I want to say revenue locations, right? I think that's all. Okay. Click on save. Oh, okay. It doesn't allow. I'm not sure it allows space in between. Okay. So now it's telling me this update will not take effect until I run the dimension activation. Okay, that is fine. But I just want to go ahead and create my custom dimension. So I have something called revenue locations. And then I want to define so I need to define the values. Here I click on dimension values. I say new. So I say maybe Lagos as a dimension. Location, I say, yes, I'll rename it, yes. The new one I said, Abuja, the location. So again, like you have in your main account, you also have the same controls here. If you want to restrict the usage of a dimension value, you want to suspend it, you don't want to allow it to be manually selected on transactions. all of those controls are here. Okay. So I say Calabar as a location. I say Enugu as a location. I say Akure as a location. So yeah, so I have 5 values for this particular dimension location. So now I've created my custom dimension called revenue locations. I should be able to use them, but however, the system have pre-warned me that for me to be able to use them, I need to. So here you can see it's inactive. I need to be able to activate it. All right. I need to be able to activate it before I can use it. All right. So that activation process should be done by someone in the technical team. All it simply means is I need to come in here. Okay, but at this point, let me take questions if there are any questions while this is processing. Please feel free to ask any question while that is processing. So today we've been able to look at how to create a chart of account. We've been able to look at how to create a main account and the different controls we have in the main account form. We've been able to look at how to create a dimension, financial dimension. So either you're creating a standard dimension value or you're creating a custom dimension. We've been able to look at all of that. Okay, so to do this, all I needed to do was click on edit here, and then I have to turn on the administrator mode. However, this is going to impact what we are doing because it will attempt to disconnect our interface until that process is complete. So let's just pause on that and then just review 1 or 2 other process. We'll spend the next 10 minutes trying to activate this dimension. So after creating your dimension, the next thing you want to do is to set up what is called a dimension set. So let me take you to where it is necessary so you can see. So dimension sets are basically filters that you can use to slice and dice your report. So if you look at this trial balance form, for example, this is a trial balance. For example, I want to run a trial balance for, let me say, from January 1st, 2020 to December 31, 2020. So you see what we call financial dimension sets. Here, it's a group of dimension or filters that you can use to slice and dice your report. So if I only want to generate your trial balance by just the main account, I just choose the dimension set for main account and I click on generate balance or calculate balance. So here you see there are some dimension sets that have been predefined, right? So for example, this guy is telling you that you can run this report by main account, broken down to business unit, to different dimension sets. So this is where dimension sets come in, helping you to be able to generate reports using different filters. What is it? Okay, sorry, I forgot this is a clean environment, so there's no data, and that's why I see it blank. But again, let's go to dimension sets. So after creating your dimension, you want to create a set of different dimension combinations that you can use to run your report, right? So here, I can just create one and say this is for CCIT revenue, okay? And then I say, yes, give me this report by main account. And then, so if I've activated that dimension that I just created, I'll see it here. And then I can pick it into this. I'll say, okay, by dimension, my main account by that revenue location dimension I created, okay, by department, by this one. So different things by customer. So I can create this, right? And then I click on save. So after creating a new dimension set like it, you want to create the balances or you want to update the balances as the case may be, And then if I go back into my trial balance to run, I should be able to find that dimension set that I just created. And then I can think this thing just takes time to process. Let me go back there to dimension set I just created. This is it. I think it just takes time to process, but of course, there's no transaction, so this will not really give me anything. But basically, just take note that your dimension set is, applicable when you're trying to run and, break down your reports into different segments. So in your reports, you can see, for example, again, I keep using the trial balance. There's another report called dimension statement reports, which, this also will be helpful. So you can create a dimension set to help you break down or group reports based on certain criteria or certain dimensions that you have, identified. So I think for me, that's the system is just taking time to populate. So I don't have all the time to wait for that. But in our next topic, we'll again come to visit this and see how to apply it. Okay. What else did I want to touch on? Yes, the main account categories. Main account categories. So you can see this is where you can set up the main account categories. Okay. So in Excel, I was trying to populate and I got errors that those main account categories do not exist. So this is where I can come in and create that category that I want to use, and then I can use it in the report. All right. So there are some predefined reports that have been built into the system that are using this identified category. So it's not always advisable to create new ones. You can modify the existing ones, to suit your need, so that it doesn't disrupt the layout of this report. So there are some Power BI reports that are embedded, in your financial reports and your financial reports that will be making use of this dimension set to group or categorize the reports. So if you're creating new ones and then you post transactions to their account, you'll find out that will be missing in the default Microsoft financial reports. So it's always advisable to just rename what you have here. So for example, in my Excel sheet, I got errors when I was trying to populate okay, the page is closed. So I got those errors when I was trying to import this account into Dynamics, and then it was giving me some specific fields that were missing configuration. So all I needed to do was just identify these configurations, come in here, and then edit one of the unused ones to suit my need. Okay. So I was using the description called expenses. I was using the name in my Excel sheet. Where is it? And you can see all of these were highlighted as errors. Okay, because it doesn't align to what is available on the system. So revenue should have been REV, expense should have been EXP, and all of that. So yeah, it's good that we saw that Microsoft's Dynamics will always perform these validation checks when you're trying to import or bring in data from external sources. You should always check that that data you're bringing in aligns with what is established in the system. All right. So for today, we've been able to cover let's try to go back to my PowerPoint. So today we've been able to cover what the chart of account is, what a main account is, and how to create financial dimensions. We've been able to explain a bit into dimensions, sets. We're missing for account structure, so we'll take that up in our next episode. Okay. What I want to do again is to navigate back into the system and see if it's possible for us to just enable this guy and how long this will take so that we can see how to activate our newly created financial dimension. Yep. What was it called? What did I call it? Okay, this is still running. So this needs to enable the administrator mode so that I can, update I can activate my newly created dimension. I'm even looking for the dimension. Where is it?
Custom revenue.
This one, yes, thank you so much. So it's still inactive. So by the time this is activated, I will be able to just click on activate all, and then this will be activated, and then I can now use it in my financial sets. Okay. And then also apply it in the next session. We're going to be looking at account structures and we'll see how to, create a structure where we bring in the main account and a combination of different dimensions. So account structure simply will be is defined as just a rule that will guide your transaction, your postings into the main account. So you're going to say to the system, okay, for this account 1001, I want to be able to post using certain dimensions. I want to be able to post using the cost center. I want to be able to post using the customer dimension and all of that. So how you define what is acceptable during transaction processing for an account is that rule is defined, using the account structure. So we will look at that in the next session. Unfortunately, we're out of time. So this will take some time. I think it takes about 10 minutes or thereabout. So once this is done, all I need to do is just click on this, and this dimension will become active. And then I can begin to use it. All right. So you can bring in questions at this point. Any question from the team? Yeah, so the process has timed out my environment, and that's why I didn't want to do that while I wanted to share on the dimension set. So this will wait until this process is completed. So at this point, let's take questions. Let's take questions while this is running. Yes, please, Christian. Christian, how are you doing?
I'm very fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just take you back to the last class. I tried working with the lab on Microsoft Learn.
Okay.
Well, I was able to create, of course, I created with the company, but the lab is usually timing out, right?
Yes, after 2 hours
Um,
or thereabouts.
yeah, in fact, even less than that, less than an hour, it has timed out. So I wanted
Okay.
to get maybe um, a better or another avenue where we can actually have, I don't know where you are creating from, right? So that if it's something I need to also get and then use that to create, because that
Okay,
is only the
so
lab I have access to. Right?
yeah, so if you look at the last session, we talked about how to provision an environment from using an Office 365 account. Okay, so for example, I think we discussed this in the last session. What you need to do is come into Office 365.
Go to marketplace, right?
Yeah, go into the admin center. Yes, in the marketplace, you first of all, sign up to the Dynamics 365 free trial
So I
version.
discover I don't have access to the marketplace. I think that's the
Yeah, so you
problem.
have to be using, that's what I'm saying. You cannot be using your personal account. You have to be using an Office 365 account or an organization account, right? And that will give you access to the Office 365
Okay.
admin center. And then you have this marketplace. So if you're using maybe a Gmail or an Outlook account, you'll be missing some of these features.
Okay. 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 I see. All right. Thanks. I'll walk around this. I think I know what to do now.
Yeah. So once you provision, once you're able to get the Dynamics free trial in here, and then you provision the free version, you assign the license to your user account, then you head into admin.powerapps.com, powerplatform.com, sorry, and then you can, let me open a new tab. So the process is very straightforward. Once you have an Office 365 account, it's straightforward. Okay, come into Marketplace, look for the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation app, right? So I can even say, let me say Finance. Look for the app, apply it on your environment or sign up to it. Go into your user account, say processing, go into your user account and then assign the license. Okay, once you assign this license, automatically when you come to Office 3 to admin.powerplatform.com with the same credentials, you head into environments and then you can create a new environment. As straightforward as that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that right away. Thank
You
you.
can create, yeah, you can do that. It's straightforward. So you can either create a sandbox or a trial environment. Post production environment, I'm not sure it's supported, but you can create a trial
Okay.
environment at least for a start. Then you go into next. Then you can now assign a security group. Maybe it's available to all the users in the organization. Then you deploy sample data, right? And then you enable. So here you can see the finance and operations license that you granted to your user. Then you can select it. And you click on save and the environment will provision. Straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice to see you, Christian. Been a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question before we call it a wrap? All right. So in the absence of any other question, we'll call it a day at this point. We will try to bring out a more streamlined set of topics that still aligns with the general ledger. So we've talked about two things here. Oops. So it's still processing. So I will not be able to modify until this is complete. Oh, it's complete now. All right. So now we can at least activate our dimension before we call it a day. Okay, so the error is still there that dimensions need to be activated. So it's just prompting us that we need to run the dimension activation, which is what we're trying to do. Okay.
There's a question on the group.
So
the question says the person asked, what about using the Hyper VM in the environment?
on the Learn website, on the Microsoft Learn website, yeah. So that's what President just mentioned.
You said no.
You know.
Yeah, if you can feel free to unmute and ask your question if you want.
Yes, please.
Yo,
So I'll just click on this.
Etim,
Yes, please go ahead.
Etim, this is Spiro.
My learned colleague. How are you?
Yeah, good. So I'm just asking it. I know it's been a while I've used that, or maybe if it's maybe you can just speak to that. If it's maybe something that can also maybe benefit everyone. That Hyper VM we used to download.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the one box environment. So we're not talking about that because
Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about that because that will require, I think the system requires about 16 gig of memory and all of those things. So
Yeah.
that's like an on-premise environment that you're trying to download and just keep for yourself. Right. But that is out of scope because the requirements are too far reaching. So what we are considering is just working with the cloud directly, either using the environments from Microsoft Learn, the labs from Microsoft Learn, or provisioning your own trial environment on the Power Platform Admin Center. Okay, so this is how to activate it. Just click on the activate all, and then click on it. That's all, and then the process will take effect. All right. So again, just mentioning it out there that we've been able to review 3 or 4 main points in the general ledger. So talked about how to set up a new chart of accounts, how to create. Okay, so this is done now. This is the revenue location dimension I just created is now active. So meaning that if I hover into my dimension sets, should be able to find it here. I should be able to find it here, and then I can add it, as one of the criteria I want to use to generate my reports. Okay. Yes, of course. Save changes. Okay, so we've been able to look at how to create a chart of accounts, create a main account. We've been able to review the various main account categories. So if you want to structure your main account category, so in ideal implementation environments, the accountant in the client side will give you a chart of accounts, all right, either with the name and the categories, right? And then you want to, for sure, align what is available in the system to whatever the client is sending to you. So once in a while, you find the need to come in here and modify some of these existing main account categories to align with whatever the client is giving to you, because of course, the purpose of every implementation is to ensure that you meet the client's needs. So you don't just throw out what is default from the system to the client. You try as much as possible to align the system to whatever the client is offering you. So yeah, you might find the need to once in a while come in here and edit these main account categories to align with whatever the client request is. And then we've been able to create a new financial dimension and activate it. And then we've been able to also, create a dimension set. And we also discuss the fact that dimension sets are basically used for reporting, right? To define how or the layout of the report you want to generate. Okay, that's the major purpose why you have these dimension sets. All right. So in our next session, we will look at this trial balance again. We'll look at kind of trying to conclude on what we started. So we'll be discussing the account structure, all right, and probably at the advanced rule here, we're discussing this too. I'm probably going to this ledger setup. So if you realize that in our initial class, in our initial starts, I quickly came in here to edit and just put some default because the system was prompting me and giving me an error, on this. So yeah, we take extensive time to discuss this because this is a very key requirement in setting up the general ledger module. In fact, everything in the general ledger module is controlled from here. Which type of account is active in the company, which calendar do you want this legal entity to use, what structures do you want the system to implement when posting transactions, everything, your exchange rate type, all of these things, which is your default currency, which is your reporting currency. So this is a very important form in your general ledger. So we take a lot of time to review and identify the importance of each of these forms in our next session. So thank you so much. I think we'll take questions at this point before we round up. Comments, feedbacks.
Yeah, thank you, team, for your time, and thanks everyone for your time as well. I think there's the questions around. Before then, I have posted in the chat the section for the 1, the 2, and the 3. So this also will be available. The 4 will be available to you if you're in WhatsApp group, or you can send to your mail as well. And there's a question in the chat. Please, how do you get the demo link? The team?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
So let's again try to find the default Microsoft link. If that is available, let's see. Should be able to get. So these labs are not stable, like we saw in the last class. However, let's try to see if we can find one that is working today, and then we can try to leverage that to do what we want to do. Let me see the intercompany accounting. If we have a lab here. So, like I did explain the last time, you can come into this. You can come into this website and then try to, okay, personal accounts, okay. They said I can't use this account, I have to use my personal account. You can come into this website and then try to find labs that will work. So we've had experiences with, reviewing 1 or 2 labs and it didn't load the way we expected it. So I will always suggest that the best way to go about it is what we have just discussed, like what we did in the last class, where you provision an Office 365 account, and then you go in there and sign up to the Microsoft free trial in the Office 365 marketplace. All right, sign up there, assign the license to yourself, and then you can now provision Dynamics in the Power Platform Admin Center. This is not stable, so I think we had some experiences where it did not work. But let's see. Ahmed, can we do something? Can we find a way to get the names of these people that are interested in the environment? So we create an environment and share it with all of the users as their practice environments. So instead of asking people to go create different environments and they're having challenges. We can provision one trial environment and then just share it with dedicated user accounts. Okay, so this one works today. Yeah, so you can always access lab from Microsoft's website, navigating into learn.microsoft.com. You go into the trainings and labs, select Dynamics 365, and then let's filter for finance and operations. Expand this guy. Finance, supply chain. So this will give you all the available labs from Microsoft regarding Dynamics. So each time you click on any of these ones, all you need to do is just go down and see if there's a lab available for each of them. So there's a lab for this one. You can just click on it and try to sign in like I just did, right? Let me click again on this one. So if it doesn't work, you go into the next one and then repeat the same process. So I'm lucky I have this one available today. So if you're interested in having a lab, a practice lab for yourself, just you can just put your name on the chat and then yeah, your name and email, yeah, that works. So we can just send you login credentials and URLs where you can access the practice lab. So we'll try and create a lab for you and then share those credentials with you. Okay.
Well done. So this lab, how long won't you time out for them?
No. So if you're creating from the Office 365 Admin Center, it's valid for, I think, 30 days. You can run that lab for 30 days. It's there for you. It's your personal trial environment. But if you run it from the Microsoft lab here, it's just for a quick test. So I think this times out every 2 hours, like I said earlier. So if because this is trying to launch. So you always have something like this, maybe after 2 hours, running the lab.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, thanks everyone. So for those who have registered already, so we're gonna send you a link where you can put your email, and we have your email, right? So anyway, we're going to ask because probably maybe we send a general emails around if anybody interested in the lab, so we can add it to the environment, so that you can be able to perform the process there. Is that okay? Fine, Etim?
Yes, that
Yeah.
works for me.
Yeah. So okay. All right. Thank you,
It's
everyone.
okay, but I would have loved the situation where they will know how to provision this lab, because after 90 days, after 30 days, or even the second 30 days or something. So I know they want to be practicing on the lab. Okay, and if they don't have access by then, they will be stuck. And this this course requires constant practice for you to actually be on the same page. I don't know if it's something that I know you mentioned how to provision. Personally, I didn't get it, so I don't know if it's something you can maybe simplify for them, okay, so that they can actually get it themselves, and when it expires, they can go back and renew it as well.
Yeah. So we it's what we are doing is an option for them, for those, because we have it seems that some people are having challenges in provisioning the environment. And if you probably, I don't know if you attend the first section or second section. So how to provision, I think Etim went through how to provision the environment. So probably I've posted the videos again. You can look into that, how to provision the environment. And maybe like that should be maybe like a section 2, if I can remember.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
joining today. Okay, I'm just
Okay.
joining today.
So we've done
I
that
would like to
already.
have the video too. would like
you
to
see
have
the
the
chart.
video
I
too.
posted it in chat already. If you scroll to the chart, you will see that day 1, day 2, and day 3.
Yes,
so
Chidi. So, like Ahmed rightly mentioned, yeah, we had taken time in the last second and third sessions to provision. I think on the second session we ran into some issues, and then we had to repeat the process in the third session, and that was successful. So the video is there. Yes, we're available. So if you are stuck anywhere, just mention it. Probably the next session we might find more time to share screens, and someone will try to provision, and let's see. But in the meantime, we will share an environment with those that are interested and have indicated to have the environments. So we'll try and provision and share user credentials with them.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
I think at this point, we can call it a day.
Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.